folks, Steak Sauce here, coming to you with the intro for another pizowell joint. I've tossed it up to him this month to review Bruiser, an oft-forgotten George Romero. Wouldn't go so far as to call it a classic, but it's a movie I like, pretty well. It's one that I noticed that is definitely missing from the pizowell log. Of course, that's something I call his work. He's never, as far as I know, uttered those words exactly. But I mean, it's got the great Tom Atkins. It's just helmed by George Romero. Can't be all bad. Now, last month, I threw it to him to tackle Perkins 14. I picked this one for a similar reason. Perkins 14 co-starred a man that I know pretty well, Michael Graves, who is the lead singer of the Misfits during their resurrection years in the 90s. Now, the whole Misfits actually make an appearance towards the end of the film of Bruiser. And I always thought that was cool. That was one of the big reasons, even more so than the fact that it's a George Romero movie, that I decided to check out Bruiser way back when. And it was kind of a collaboration. Romero used these guys in Bruiser, and in return, Romero directed the music video for the Misfits song Scream. So without further ado, Piz, take it away.
Hey, what's up, people? Pizowell here, and as Steak Sauce mentioned during his introduction, today I'll be talking about George Romero's Bruiser. Bruiser. One of Romero's lesser known and seldom discussed even amongst those who've seen it films. As a matter of fact, I had all but forgotten that Bruiser even existed prior to Steak Sauce requesting this review. I can remember when Bruiser was first coming out. I don't recall if I saw the film on VHS or DVD, but I remember renting it from the Ma and Pa video store that I've talked about countless times in the past on this channel as being the horror lover's dream video store. One day I was talking to the owner of the video store about Bruiser, and he mentioned that the release was in pretty high demand because he was only able to acquire one copy for the store. And I remember thinking, that's a good thing, right? Because at the time, Romero's last film had been The Dark Half, which had not set the box office on fire. The 90s had been a difficult time for George Romero. He only managed to direct 2 films during the entire decade, and neither one were very well received by fans or critics. Romero spent much of the 90s trying to get his 4th Dead film off the ground with no luck. It's hard to imagine a time when George Romero, the creator of contemporary zombie fiction, could not get a zombie movie off the ground, particularly when you take into account that later in his career, those were the only movies that he could get made. Come to think of it, the 90s weren't friendly to any of our masters of horror save Wes Craven. But for Romero, the decade seemed particularly cruel. I don't remember much about my first viewing of Bruiser aside from just feeling kind of meh about it. I revisited the film a couple of times over the years, and my feelings on the film really hadn't changed. However, I went into the movie this time around with an open mind and tempered expectations. Bruiser revolves around a young executive named Henry Creed, and Mr. Creed is your typical doormat. His wife, his boss, his best friend, they all just walk all over him. Henry only stands up in his own head with fantasies of dealing with those who cross him in rather bloody fashion. One day Henry wakes up to find that his face has been replaced by a blank white mask and a desire to get even. Bruiser is an odd movie. It doesn't necessarily look or feel like a Romero film. There seems to be some sort of social message behind it, although I'm not entirely sure if Romero knew what that message was or did a very good job of driving it home. For me, Bruiser is a Kafkaesque tale about how modern man has been stripped of his identity by the morally bankrupt and the materialistic, and the only way to regain one's identity is to take it back by force, if necessary. Or maybe that's just what I want the message to be. Maybe the white mask that Creed wears is intended for the viewer to impose their own message onto it. I don't know. Behind the mask, Henry is finally able to grow a pair and confront those who've cheated him or cheated on him. And oftentimes those confrontations end in bloodshed. Having Henry's mask become more and more colorful and unique as he gets even with those who've wronged him is a nice touch on Romero's part, I think. Bruiser features a strong cast, including the great Tom Atkins, Leslie Hope, Peter Stormare, who delivers a gleefully over-the-top performance as Henry's sleazy boss, and Jason Fleming is quite good in the lead. Bruiser is part Falling Down and part American Psycho. There's some good ideas behind the film, I think. They just don't all come together. I think Bruiser is slightly better than it's given credit for. However, it's so far removed from the caliber of film that Romero was making in the 70s and 80s that it's hard to believe that the same guy who made Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Creepshow, Martin, and so on, also made Bruiser. It seems like a movie that Romero was given the opportunity to make during a time where he wasn't being given very many opportunities to make movies. It's still a very meh movie for me, but I definitely enjoyed it more this time around than I ever have in the past. The pacing is tight, the performances are good, and there's this dreamy quality to the film that I really picked up on this time around. The movie has this kind of white glow to it. I'm not sure if that was intended on Romero's part, but you could very easily look at this entire movie as just another bloody fantasy taking place only in Henry's mind. I do dig the finale of Bruiser, which takes place at a costume party and features a live performance from the Misfits. Pretty cool. On one hand, I want to say that Bruiser is better than its reputation, but at the same time, I'm not quite sure that Bruiser even has much of a reputation. It almost feels like Romero's lost film because nobody talks about it, even those of us who've seen it, and many, I'm sure, like myself, have probably forgotten that it even exists. It's nowhere near Romero's best film, but if you're given the opportunity, I say give it another look. And if you've not seen Bruiser before, check it out. But go in with an open mind and tempered expectations. Huge shout out to collaborator Steak Sauce for requesting that I review George Romero's Bruiser. You are slowly but surely redeeming yourself after the Children of the Living Dead incident. Keep up the good work, because I can't handle another Children of the Living Dead. Please. If you'd like to request a movie for me to review on this channel and have a clip of yourself introducing the movie to appear before my review, follow the link in the description or head over to patreon.com/pizowell and become a collaborator today. Please let me know your thoughts on Bruiser down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. A big thank you to all my awesome Patreon supporters. I appreciate your generosity and support of my channel. Become a patron today and join me for monthly live streams and have a say in what movies I review on my channel. Patreon.com/pizowell or follow the link in the description. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.